the time my daughter, who lives in the Boston area, and actually is here tonight, thank you, and so she was in the Boston area, and she called me to say that she was pregnant and I would soon be a grandfather. And that was great news for me for two reasons. First, I was beginning to worry that I wouldn't live long enough to be a grandfather. And by looking at me, I think you can tell, it was close. The other reason is that finally, after 33 plus years, I had a great excuse to move out of the state of Connecticut. It's so boring! How boring is it, you may ask? I'll try that one again. How boring is it?
How boring is it?
Thank you very much for asking. It is so boring that one of its major tourist sites is a covered bridge in the middle of nowhere. It is so boring that many people in that state drive around aimlessly all weekend long looking for garage sales or tax sales or whatever you want to call it. And it may go something like this. Sit down there. I'm driving. So, hey, there's a desk with one leg missing. Guess what I needed? A delayed reaction? That's okay. Connecticut is so boring that the next Hartford Marathon is going to consist of running around the block 104 times. And it may go something like this.
Yes, do it.
Whoa, careful, bring it around. I'm out of shape. What was my time? 3 seconds, personal best. Connecticut is so boring that every one of its major league sports teams, well, they don't have any. Connecticut is so boring, the real reason they call it the Constitution State is that you need a strong constitution to live there. Connecticut, though, does have its own version of the Freedom Trail. Very popular. Because it takes you right out of the state. And I took that Freedom Trail, also known as I-84, to race across the border into Massachusetts and settled in Arlington. Now, before I continue, I have to make sure everyone knows I did cross the border legally. I have all my papers. I even have a valid Mass ID. I cannot be deported back to Connecticut. But I digress. So I'm living in Arlington for a while, and my daughter was, on Christmas Day, December 25th, was admitted to Brigham Women's Hospital in Boston to have her baby. And I, of course, went along to await the blessed event. Later that evening, my grandson was born. Mother and baby were doing great. But as for me, I was exhausted. I mean, all that waiting and waiting and waiting and pacing back and forth and back and forth. It was grueling. I'm sure if my daughter knew how rough it was on me that night, she would have done something to speed it up a little bit. But everything was fine, all worked out well, but I really had to unwind a little bit. So I took a walk out into the night air. I looked up at the heavens, and there it was, a bright light in the sky, all over the horizon. It's just I imagine it looked to the three wise men 2,000 years ago. Now, I'm not religious, but at that moment, my emotions got the best of me, and I got down. I hope I can get down. Got down on my knees and prayed. As easy as it used to be. Anyway, the next morning I found out it was a Sitco sign. Now, I'm living here in Arlington for a while, and it's a lot better than that other place I won't even mention anymore. But I found some oddities about living here, some almost idiosyncrasies. For example, everybody seems to want to abbreviate a lot. Give you an example. I live in Arlington off of Massachusetts Avenue, but nobody here calls it that. You don't even call it Mass Avenue. You call it Mass Ave. You even have to abbreviate Avenue. Really? So I can take Mass Ave into Boston and get on the Mass Pike. Another double abbreviation. My daughter used to live in Jamaica Plain, but nobody here calls it that. You call it JP. And JP is not all that far from South E. And you can get from South E to JP by taking the T. Now, I don't know about you, but that's exhausting. Now, speaking of the T, who the heck came up with the green line? A 5-year-old with crayons? Did they run out of straight track? When I take the green line in Boston, when it's underground, what a wild ride that is. I have to hold on for dear life, even when I'm sitting. And MBTA, there's a new invention. It's called grease. Put them on those wheels, the noise is definitely. Well, back to abbreviations. I got a little sidetracked with that train. Well, pun intended there. So, your sports teams you abbreviate. The Bruins are the Bs, the Celtics are the Cs, the Patriots are the Pats.
Woo!
And speaking of the Pats and their quarterback, what's his name? Garofalo? Oh, Brady. Tom Brady. Great quarterback, great team. I hope they do great in the Super Bowl next week again.
Woo!
Now, when I grew up, but Brady, the only thing is, Brady, you treat him like he's a deity, like he's a god around here. When I grew up, way back when, in New York, I rooted for a team called the New York Jets. Some of you may have heard of them. They used to be a professional football team. Not anymore. That's probably why the New England's so great. They beat the Jets twice a year. Whatever. So, but at that time, the quarterback for the team was Joe Namath.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. As famous, as popular a quarterback as Brady is today. Hard to believe, but it was true. But we did not think he walked on water. The Pope, when he came to this country a couple of years ago, did not come to Boston. He knew he couldn't compete with Tom Brady. Besides, I heard the Pope is really a baseball fan. He roots for the Cardinals. Thanks for not disappointing me. I knew that would be a groaner. Well, living here in this area with all these abbreviations, I've just gotten used to the fact that that's how we have to speak. So the only thing I can think of to go on vacation this year, the only place to go to, only one left. P-Town. Well, my name's Jay Heller. Good night, or should I say GN?